Okay, so I want to talk about how to graph sinusoidal functions on the graphing calculator and how to adjust the window so that we can properly graph on the graphing paper or on a plain paper. So let's say that we want to graph sine of x. Now the first thing you probably want to do is go to mode and make sure that it's in radian. Okay. When we did trigonometric functions where we solve for the side or the angle, then we use the degree measure. But when we want in a graph, we want to put it in radian measure. So we're going to get out of that. And you're going to go to y equals, and let's say you want to graph sine of x. Now I want to graph this in the window, in a good window where I can fit one cycle or one period. So I know that one cycle, one period is 2 pi. One cycle will be length of 2 pi. So I'm going to go to my window and adjust my window where this is going to be 0 to 2 pi. And then I want the scale. So scale means the intervals. So I want this to be pi divided by 4. So every interval will be quarter pi. Now, minimum and maximum, I know that sine and cosine, the amplitude is 1. So, I might want to put it maybe 2 or 3. So I will put maybe -3 and +3. And the scale here could be 1, which is fine. And if you press graph, it will graph a nice curve from 0 to 2 pi. And then you know that these are quarter pi, half a pi, 3/4 of a pi, 1 pi, and so forth. Okay? Now, we know that that is the parent function of sine. So if we put 2 sine of x, we know that the amplitude is going to increase. So that's going to be in red. Okay? So the period is the same. The frequency the same, but the amplitude changes. Now, let's say you want to go, let's delete this, and then let's say you want a vertical shift. So if you do +2, the whole graph is going to shift up 2. If you do -2, we know that the whole graph is going to shift down 2. Let's say you want the frequency to change. So how does the frequency change? The b value changes. So let me delete this. And then I would put 2x, so frequency of 2. That means there's 2 cycles in 2 pi. So you're going to see the parent function and the new function that has 2 cycles. Now, it doesn't always have to be a full cycle. So you can say, oh, this might have 1.5 cycles. So maybe you could put 2x divided by 2. So that will be 1.5 cycle. There you go. So you have 1 and another half. Okay. So that the frequency for that function would be 1.5. Let's say we have a phase shift. Phase shift means that the function shifts either to the left or the right. So if I put, let me clear this and put sine of x minus pi. Now I'm putting pi, you could put 1, 2, but I'm putting pi because our intervals are in pi radians. So I'm gonna, and this is gonna be shifting which direction? It's gonna be shifting to the right. So notice this shifted to the right, and then that curve that was on this side is just shifting to the right. Okay, now another way that we can use to see this function is, well, if this is sine of x, then negative sine of x is just a reflection. So if you notice, I know what my mistake is. I have to put this negative. So I put this negative because this is minus, this is negative. Press graph, and that is a reflection. Notice that that graph is the same as the phase shift that we had before. So when we had, let's say I'm going to turn this off, and I want to do this, the same curve, sine of x minus pi is actually the same as this one right here. So you press graph. There's a black one. Now if I turn this back on and then graph it, notice that that is the same graph. So if you notice, negative sine of x is actually the same as sine of x minus pi.